YouTube, what's good with you guys? Going back here with another video, and today I'm gonna be going over and talking about the new video that EricRayweather just released about the 10 big changes confirmed for franchise mode in Madden 24. As someone who plays franchise a lot, this is something that interested me, and I know a lot of guys and a lot of people out there play franchise as well, so I thought I might as well react to this, give you guys my thoughts, exactly what I think about this, and also it gives you guys a chance to see this video if you guys haven't seen it already. It's from EricRayweather. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and link his video down in the description. He makes really good content. I aspire to to be this guy one day, or be like him. Obviously not him, you know. uh but yeah, let's go ahead and hop in this video.
Franchise mode is getting 10 big changes in Madden 24, and I'm going to break them all down in this video. And at the end of those 10 things, I'm also going to talk about some of the stuff that's staying the same and some of the things that could be getting updated during the year, as I've been seeing a lot of questions about what franchise mode is going to look like in the new game. Some of the footage you may see on the screen will be of Madden 23 because we don't have any actual footage of franchise mode yet until they release it, but I was able to play the game early, so I can give you all of the info that I know so far. And if you still are looking to try the game early for yourself, I did get a few extra beta codes this week, so I'll give you a beta code. 5 drills that you can use in both the off season and during your weekly training for your 3 focus players each and every week. They brought back some of the fan favorites from back in the day, like rushing attack, some of the passing drills, the punter, and the field goal drill, but with most of the drills, they added different elements to them. They updated them, they added different targets, they added different obstacles to these mini games, and they also added quite a few new mini games that we've never seen in Madden before. They're really fun to use during the off season to upgrade your individual players on the spot, but they also provide extra XP as well. And you can also earn additional XP when you use them on your 3 focus players each week. And I believe these do also count as extra snaps towards your players with hidden development traits so that you can unlock their dev trait even sooner. Number 2.
So I'm gonna pause after each one and kind of give my thoughts, but that one's pretty cool. You know, having the mini game modes like this is what I'm talking about in all my videos. If you guys watch my previous videos, like, it's the little things, right? Madden can do these little things that aren't hard to do, keep them in the game, satisfy players, right? Give players so many different options and things to do, keep them going, keep them moving, keep them entertained with the game, right? Because, you know, after a while, every game can start to feel dead, right? You're like, oh my god, it's the same thing over and over again. Starts to feel overused, right? You come in, you know, he's probably gonna, so this next part's about relocation, right? The location parts, being able to do like little things like that, those things aren't hard to do. Have them in the game. The little mini game modes, the things to do in between weeks to upgrade your players, like, those are easy things in my opinion to just keep in the game and to keep, you know, players happy. Not everyone's gonna like it, not everyone's gonna use it, but it's something that doesn't take much, you know, to keep it in, you know what I mean? So that's my thoughts on that one.
Relocation updates. There's about 34 new cities, I believe, with relocation. There's 31 teams. I don't know if the teams themselves are all brand new. I think there may be a couple. Most of the teams themselves are the same, but I do believe they have updated logos. They all have new uniforms, and you can pick any team you want with any city. So in the past, you would only have a certain amount of options depending on the city you wanted to relocate. Now any team can be used with any city you want to relocate to. And each team is going to have 3 separate uniforms: home, away, and an alternate, which we did not see before. All of the uniforms are updated and look more modern day, and with the 3 uniforms, you can mix and match to create a bunch of different options now that you have the alternate uniforms as well, which I think is a nice touch. You can also relocate the team as a coach now as well, which is something a lot of people asked for, and you can also relocate immediately. You don't have to wait a year into the future. You can just do it from the start of your franchise, which I think is another nice touch. Number 3, trading.
So overall, that one, I like that one. I think that's cool. Little things like that, being able to pick a different team than one of the NFL teams, switch your team brand, switch your city as well. Like, all that seems very cool, very simple stuff that should be in the game already, right? And then not having to wait a year, that's also really cool in my opinion. Also being the coach, right? Because not many people pick the owner side. Still being able to be the coach, because there's different things you can do as a coach and an owner. One that you can do as a coach, one that you can do as an owner. Stuff like deal with sales, you know, stuff like that as an owner, and then actually coaching and making play calls, stuff like that as a coach. That's obviously a factor of that. But I think that's all really good. No complaints about that. If anything, it's the opposite. I do really like that feature, and I think it'll help the game.
Overhaul. We now have 6 trade slots, which is another thing that has been asked about for years. It's kind of a small thing that makes a big difference because now you can do the more realistic trades. You can also trade up to 3 years worth of draft picks now as well, so you get an entire extra year of draft picks that you can put in there. So now when you put big name guys on the trade block, you can actually get some realistic packages for these players. It also, in my opinion, seems like they give you better trade offers. I remember last year when I was messing around with franchise, it seemed like a lot of the trade block offers were kind of mid, but now it seems like you actually get some pretty decent offers, especially if you put a good player on the trade block. Another nice touch to trading, which we'll go a little bit deeper on later when I talk about commissioner tools, is you can now adjust a slider for how hard or how easy you want it to be to trade for players. Number 4, updated coaching.
So with that part, I think that's really good. I think that's an easy, simple thing to do. Again, all these things so far seem very simple to me, very easy to add in the game. So like I said in all my videos, why wasn't this already in the game? But like I always say after that, hey, at least they're doing it, at least they're trying, at least they're listening to the community. I do like that. The 6 slot upgrades to make it more realistic trades, I do like that a lot. So
trees. The head coach and coordinators now have additional coaching trees. I believe the skill trees are also scheme specific, which makes finding the right coaches more important for your team. There are supposedly some new things in the coaching tree as well. They didn't just split them up into a separate tree. I believe they actually added quite a few new things to unlock within the coaching trees. And again, with the coaches being scheme specific, it should make it in theory more important to hire the right coordinator instead of just hiring anybody. But it is Madden, so we have to see how that works in practice once the game is truly out. Number 5, contract.
So that part, I mean, I don't really have much thoughts on that. That's cool, I guess. Something that I don't think I'll really use, but I do. Yet again, another nice little feature, something easy.
Restructuring. You can now restructure contracts to free up cap space. However, you don't have full control over how you spread out the money. Although this is said to be in the plans at some point, they're gonna add that. Maybe it's a next year thing, maybe it's in an update, who knows. But for now, you can save cap space by utilizing this feature. So it's kind of a more of a bare bones version of it. You can't really get too intricate with it yet. I think in the future, what I would like to see, as others would like to see, is kind of having the option of how you want to spread money out. Also just having more freedom over front loading and back loading contracts and stuff like that. But for the time being, you can at least have the ability to free up that cap space, which makes it a useful feature, but I would like to see it more fleshed out. You can now also negotiate with players who need contracts immediately instead of waiting. So that's also another very small but good quality of life fix. Number 6,
Yet again, I do like that a lot. I think that especially if you play with cap on, you know, compared to cap off. Like, you know, if I do a fantasy draft, I'll usually play with cap off because I want to get all the players I want on the same team, right? And a lot of them cost a lot of money. So that's definitely something that I do like, though, for people that do like play with the cap on. You know, if you want to do a realistic rebuild with like whatever your favorite team is, or with a team that you like, something like that, you want to do a rebuild, having that ability to restructure your team or contracts, guys you think that either need more money or less money. Usually going to be less money if you're trying to restructure and make it a better team overall, right? So people like, you can turn people into like Tom Brady, where Tom Brady always took a way less money in his contracts because he wanted to allow more money for better players so he could win, and it definitely worked out with 7 Super Bowls. So yeah, I do like that part.
Abilities. You can now get up to 4 superstar abilities per player as they go up in overall. This is another thing I saw a lot of people request over the years, because outside of the quarterback position, you can only get 2 abilities on players. Well, now you can get up to, I think, 3 if they're around a 90 overall, and I believe as you get higher, maybe 95 plus, you can unlock that 4th ability as well. So that's actually going to be really good for team building and just kind of making your team more powerful if you can build your guys up to those 90 plus overalls. Number 7,
I do like that a lot. I do like that a lot, actually, because, well, for example, like I think last year, I don't remember if in franchise you could always have more than 2 on. Was it always 3 or 4 for quarterbacks? But I don't remember. But I know that I want to say it was at least 3 abilities on your quarterbacks, right? But then you play guys like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, people that have like 6 freaking abilities, right? And it's a little bit OP, right? Especially for you know, like I think adding at least 3 to make it like ultimate team where they have They can have up to 3 abilities. It's actually a really nice stat. And also going by overall, I think that's a really nice touch as well. I do like that a lot. I think I'm going to use that as well. I think a lot of people will. And I think it'll probably make the game a little bit more fun, maybe even a little more realistic. That way those higher overalls actually play like a high overall because of those abilities they have. So yeah.
Draft class generators. Now, the NFL draft is one of the areas that franchise could use the most work. I think the draft experience as a whole definitely needs a lot of work, but something they did last year and they've kind of further built on this year are the draft class generators. Here's an article from GameSpot. They were also at the preview event for Madden 24 and some of the other writers from other sites as well. So they've put some of this info out already. And this is what they had to say. They just summed it up really good. So I'm going to read what they wrote. Another change for the GM minded players comes during the NFL draft. While the scouting system seems to be unchanged from Madden 22's overhaul, draft classes have been expanded to include more player variety, including a few archetypal draftees who may be clones of legendary players, some who possess 99 rated attributes like break tackle even as a rookie, and also out of position players who may be drafted at one spot but thrive in another, like the QB turn wide receiver trajectory we see some players follow. These players will remain rare, Dugan told me, but some such players can be found at least some of the time now that there are 50 new and unique draft generators added to Madden 24. Another example they gave us when we were down there is you might see a guy that has the build of a Harold Carmichael, a 6'8 wide receiver. You can definitely find these guys more often, but they're still going to be rare as they should because they're generational talents. And also, I believe another nice touch to this whole thing is when you're actually editing draft classes now, it appears that the editor that was in the face of the franchise for all of those years is now able to be used for editing the draft classes, so you can actually make these people look way better because the preset faces, let's be honest, that is like PS2 level. It's so old and they just look really bad. Number 8.
So this part so far is probably my favorite part that I've heard. Having the ability to change their faces, the draft classes being more diverse and more expansive, all really good stuff, right? Draft classes, I don't ever do those. They're so boring and so like, it's like, wow, you get this random dude, random generated name, like who cares, right? It doesn't make any sense. But having, you know, these generational talents, people that are cool, the QB and wide receiver thing, although that seems like whatever, to me that's actually pretty cool. I do like that one a lot. You know, obviously it's not going to be mean anything to you unless you're the one doing it, because let's say you're playing in like a 30-person franchise league and you draft a QB guy and he converts to a wide receiver. Those 29 other people, because of these guys are not known names, right? It's all like generated people. They're not going to care that much. But to you, right, someone maybe in a 1-person franchise, like that's all going to be really cool in my opinion. I do like that one a lot. And I think it'll add a lot of new diversity and a lot of new feeling to franchise. We'll see though when it gets closer, but that's kind of my thoughts on that part.
Computer AI. Now, this is something they told us about when we were down there, but apparently the computer AI is going to be a little smarter in how they react to things. So if you're running the same defense versus a quarterback, especially a good QB, they're going to start making more audibles, switching plays. If you're running a cover 3 all the time, they're going to probably switch up and try to attack the seams again, especially guys like Mahomes and those top end QBs. Apparently there's also going to be adaptive AI on the defensive side of the ball, especially versus the run, not so much the pass, but if you're just kind of spamming the same stretch play over and over, the computer is theoretically supposed to eventually start recognizing it and shutting it down. But I think the biggest thing with this feature, if it works properly, because we've heard them talk about, you know, customizing the computer AI a ton in the past. They're going to play and call plays more like their real life selves. It's gotten a little bit better over the years, but it's still one of those areas that isn't quite there yet. So we really don't know if this is going to work the way they told us it's going to work. But if it does, it's supposed to make the better QBs and the top teams feel harder to beat, because if you're trying to just use the same few things against them, they're going to catch on, start audibling more and switching up plays like they would in real life. Again, we really have to see this one in practice because we've heard this talked about many times over the years and it's really never quite hit home in the way that they have said it would. Number 9, commission.
So this one, again, I think I've talked about, I saw this one in a previous video, but I do like this one a lot, right? Like he said though, that they've talked about stuff like this in the past and it didn't actually like come to fruition. It's not a, you know, what they said it would be. But if it is exactly what they're saying, I do like this one a lot. I'll play all Madden on franchise with the Bears, right? That's not a good team, and I'll kill the CPU. Like, this isn't me trying to flex. Like, it's just me trying to tell you that they need to switch it up, right? It's hard. like as someone who plays this game competitively, right, playing offline even on the hardest difficulty still isn't as fun as it could be, right? Having those more competitive games, in my opinion, is a lot more fun. You know, breaking the all-time records for things is cool, but when you're breaking it by a large margin, I feel like that's not as fun. Like someone who likes to play all the games through and through, you know, I'm not a I don't really like to simulate that often. I do it sometimes for you guys on YouTube, but otherwise I like to go and play all 16 games, and then when I'm killing those records because of how easy it is, even on the hardest difficulty, it starts to get a little bit boring over time. You know, I still do it, but I think this will make my experience a lot better, especially if it's exactly what they're saying, or at least close to it. So I do like that part.
Tools. This is actually one of the biggest changes in my opinion for the mode this year, because it allows you to customize the mode to your liking. Now I believe at the launch of the game there's going to be something like 12 new commissioner settings, but they said there's a long list of ones that they're going to keep dropping. Probably some will come in an update, because we saw that a few years ago when they first started implementing new commissioner tools. They put them in the game during the year and update, so I would expect to see more of these coming during the year. But at launch there's 12 new ones that actually go a long way in my opinion. You can turn off home field advantage, something I've seen a lot of people talk about. I personally think the momentum and home field advantage is a cool thing, but a lot of people don't like it, so now you can turn that off. You can also tune the XP and regression sliders. You can now pick exactly how much more or less XP you earn at each age and position. You can make running backs regress faster, for example, how it often happens in real life. You can have QBs that regress much slower because they usually can play into older age. So now you can fine tune this down to age and position so that you get a more realistic regression system throughout the years of your franchise. They also added free agency sliders where you can set the number of players you're able to negotiate with at each stage. There's also a slider with this that factors in how much you want motivation to matter to the players. So you can turn this way up to where their motivations are going to be very strict, and if your team does not meet their motivations, you just flat out can't sign them. Or you can make it a little bit more easy to deal with, where you might not have all their motivations, but if you have just one, then you have an okay chance of signing them. But you can just tweak this however you want. If you want free agency to be harder, you can turn this up and make it harder on yourself and your league. The play cooldown sliders are another one that they tweaked a little bit here. It now lets you adjust offensive and defensive cooldowns individually, so you don't have one set number like 3 plays in a row for both. You could set defense for once every 5 plays, and you can set offense for once every 10, 20 plays, however you want to do it. This is another huge one right here. You can now toggle off depth chart reordering, so you don't have to manually fix the depth chart each time you make changes. Apparently this was actually never a bug. It was actually done by design, which is kind of crazy because this is one of the things that drove franchise mode players absolutely insane. Now you can toggle this off and never have to worry about it again. There's also a trade difficulty setting, which I briefly touched on a little bit earlier. So now you can make trading very easy. You can have it in the middle, you can make it hard, you could even make it very hard. And from what I've heard based on other people who have played the game early, they said that when you put it up to hard or very hard, it's actually very realistic, and it's hard to get the first overall pick in the draft, or it's very hard to get that franchise QB without either breaking the bank, or in certain situations you just can't get them at all. And that is something I think that, again, small thing when you just think about it in terms of the entire franchise mode, but it makes a big difference in terms of realism when you're playing over so many years. I believe there's also some other commissioner tools. Those are just the ones that I remember off the top of my head. I believe there are a couple other new ones in there as well. Number 10,
So at first I was going to say that this one doesn't really matter to me, but once I start to hear all the different things that the owners can do with the changing of the hardness, of the difficulty to trade, you know, the cooldown plays, stuff like that, all that, I actually really enjoy all those things I just heard, all the different parts of that. Those all sound like really good features, really simple things like we've talked about. Overall, I'm never really too big on the owner presentation, on the owner mode, but I do like all those changes, and I think that should actually help a lot.
Presentation. So this is an area that a lot of people ask about when it comes to franchise mode. Most of this, from what I've seen, has stayed the same. The announcers are, yes, they're the same. I know people are tired of them, but they are still the same. The pregame and postgame and the Super Bowl stuff all looks to be the same from what I've seen. The one area that it is different is in between plays. They added a lot of different emotional stuff between plays. They even talked about this briefly on their website when they dropped the initial info. Basically now you're going to see more human interaction in between plays, which is a small thing, but but it makes the games not feel such the same when you're playing games over and over. You're going to see players talk trash between plays. You're going to see them do some more celebrations. You're going to see them celebrate as a team depending on what's happening. If you get a sack, if you get team to fourth down, you know, they hold the fists up together and stuff like that. It just makes the game feel a little bit more lifelike than seeing people constantly just walking around or standing around like robots. They also added different packages for the primetime games. Now, they didn't really do a whole bunch of this, so don't get too excited. This is an area where I feel like they could go so much deeper. Even just adding different scoreboards would be a big thing here, but it ain't on that level yet. It's more so just the screen transitions and wipes. They are different depending on the primetime game, so it's not just going to say Madden primetime anymore. It'll say like Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night. They have some different transitions in there, but outside of that, I don't think there's really any other differences, but I do think this is an area that, like I said, even just adding different scoreboards is something that's very easy, but would actually go a pretty long way in making the different games feel special. Refs are back on the field, as most people know as well, and they actually have new ref models. They even have female refs too, which is pretty cool. So the refs do finally look more up to date, because when they did have refs back in the game a few years ago, they looked very, very outdated. In terms of equipment, I've covered that in other videos, but they do have the Axiom helmet now. You can also put the hand warmer in the back. I know that's something a lot of people asked for. That is in the game now as well. And I believe at launch, there's even more new equipment coming in, probably during updates as well, because that's one thing they do update throughout the year. So apparently the word is we're getting more equipment soon, but there are a few new things to dive into at launch. Now, the last part I want to touch on is crossplay. I know a lot of
So before he touches that crossplay part, I do like all that stuff a lot. The presentation mode, making it the simple things like Monday, Thursday, Sunday night, stuff like that. That's all super good. Simple things like I've talked about. Even like you said, the scoreboard would have been nice to change that. You know, simple things like that. They do that in MLB The Show, which I do like a lot. That's another game that I play a lot. They even talked about the different, you know, equipment, stuff like that, changing that, adding new equipment to the game. That's something that people care about a lot, right? Being able to customize your players, customize the equipment, make it more realistic to what the players are wearing in real life. So I like all that stuff a lot. I think that's very, very, very good. I'm looking forward to that heavily. So, and also I've talked about it in previous videos, so I won't say as much. But the in between the plays, the emotions being shown, the scraps, whatever, talking shit, that's all really, really good. I like that a lot. And I'll be excited to see how that actually feels and looks when I'm playing the game.
A lot of people heard that crossplay is not currently for franchise mode. It's only for online head-to-head matchmaking, but EA said that it is coming sooner rather than later. They said it's not a matter of if it comes for franchise, it's when. Now, I don't know what that means. That could be a post-launch update, which is what I anticipate, but there's also a chance that could be Madden 25. I don't know. All I know is crossplay will be coming for franchise sooner rather than later, but it's not going to be in on the day the game launches. I think there's probably some more logistics and things they have to go through to make sure it's
So that's all I'm gonna watch. But as far as crossplay goes, that's something that doesn't really matter to me so much right now, because all of my friends are on PlayStation, so that one doesn't really matter to me as much. But I know for a lot of people that have friends that crossplay, stuff like that, that's a big feature. So hopefully they add that sooner than later for you guys. And there was one thing in his comment section that he talked about, or the comments. Also forgot to mention sim stats, much better finally. Running QBs actually get good rushing yards. Really good, really good. As someone who's been simming a lot recently, really good. I like that a lot. You don't see a bunch of no names in the top 10 of receiving yards. That's great. We just talked about, dude, if you guys go watch my Ravens video and see how unrealistic the sim stats were. Only things I'll say is I find touchdown overall seem to be a bit high sometimes. And sometimes you'll have two pass rushers get 20 sacks, which I think is too high. It also appears that playbooks aren't as powerful in determining which players such teams perform well. So, I mean, you know, they didn't change it as well as they wanted to, right? But still, little things like that, simming, to make it feel more real for players who like to sim. Yet again, like I said, well, even like someone like me who plays all my games, the other 15 games or whatever or so, those get sims, so those will be still, you know, semi-unrealistic, stuff like that. So hopefully it's overall more realistic. I do like all those changes, though, for the simming. EricRayweather, go and sub to him. I'll link that script below, like I said. But this is going to do it for my video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you guys are new. Comment what you guys thought, what you guys want to see. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Best one, I was the best one. You thinking way back, you should have kept them. You always question all of my methods. I try to hold you down. I just want you to we got a hit. I swear that you don't check your phone. I be pulling in the coupe on my own.